You are now tuned in to the OSINTCurious Podcast.
Welcome to OSINTCurious. Today, I'm Kirby Plessas, and I have with me Dutch OSINT guy, and we are going to talk about some of the news. We don't have our fellow OSINTCuriousers with us today. Everybody's a little bit busy, but I think we've got some topics that could fill our time of interest, right, Dutch?
Certainly. I think we have a load of tabs loaded up, so let's go.
All right, let's go. So the first thing is we did get a comment on our blog last week, and someone introduced us to their new tool, metadata analysis. It's supposed to be a metadata analysis tool. Apparently, the author of this, Ben, said that none of the things that he tried in the past hit what he wanted to get out of metadata, so he's created this new tool. I haven't run it yet. I'm taking a look at it. It looks like it might be kind of interesting, something like FOCA, but maybe slightly different. I'm excited to run it. What do you think, Dutch?
Well, it looks like the new FOCA, like you mentioned. I tried to load it up, but then I got a call and I got another call. Like you said, it was a really busy day, so I didn't go in depth. I tried it, and the first glance was perfect, but next week I'll have some more time, and maybe we need to get back on this next week for a little bit more in-depth review.
I agree. I kind of want to compare it against FOCA and see like what it does and what it doesn't, and knowing that FOCA is not being developed at kind of the just GUI, grab and go basis anymore. How does it measure up against the kind of legacy FOCA? So you can just give it to anybody, and then also, I just want to run through it and see what we've got there. And you can see that actually, and this is again at metadataanalysis.com, and that'll be in our show notes. But if we scroll down this page, down here to the bottom, he's addressing the new timelines that he's going to add, different versions, that sort of thing. So I'm kind of excited to try it.
Yeah, what makes it interesting to me, FOCA was Windows only, and this should be all platform from the looks of it.
Yeah, that would actually be very helpful for me as well, since I am not usually on Windows.
Exactly my point, yes.
Okay, so next, Ars Technica article, but this article is everywhere, not just on Ars Technica. The 773 million record breach list. Do you have anything about that?
Well, my personal opinion was don't believe the hype, because it was more than 90 or 95% was already out there. Mm-hmm. So it was just a breach. I don't even know if that's the right word. Yeah, it was just a compilation of breaches which were already out there, but it gained a new momentum. One thing I like about these things being in the news is making people aware. Just be aware of to change your passwords from every now and then, or at least check them in resources like have I been pwned or something.
Yes, yeah, and just use something like a password manager. So even if it was only one thing maybe got breached and not everything. And I agree with you. This is a recompilation that there's so many of those going out that anytime somebody says, "Oh, new breach," I wait and see.
Yeah, but what stood out to me that this one hit everywhere on the internet, and I don't even exactly know why this was so hot in the news. Maybe because it was a while ago, I don't know, or just some people want to have a media campaign to gain more momentum on this.
Oh yeah, maybe. I mean, it could have been something where robots retweeted it to get to a certain visibility point when it would organically then go viral. It was a big number. I mean, there's 773 million according to this, but there have been big numbers before. So,
yeah, and still these kind of repositories are still very interesting, because when you look for a certain email address, you might even get the right password with it. Still, is it legal to use it? But it for some people, this are really valuable repositories to download as soon as possible before they're gone.
Right. And for me, it's not, I'm not really looking for the passwords as much as I just want to see what services they're on. So if it says, if I can search an email in here and see that they got a breach off of Tumblr and LinkedIn and whatever, then I'm saying, okay, I'm going to go find who they are on Tumblr. I'm not going to log into them. I want to see what they put out there.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen other people use use it in another way for, let's say, OSINT or research purposes. They, when you do a password reset on certain platforms, they will give you the first 2 digits of an email or the last few. And with these amounts of lists, you can compare them and maybe guess the right email address.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you might be able to, deduce it that way. And that's a lot of potential stuff to go through. But I guess, you just have a good enough computer and you start doing a find search on it, and you wouldn't necessarily need to have a database.
No, exactly. So, but still, interesting news article, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What do we have up next? We have the Macedonian fake news article from leadstories.com.
I totally missed this one. So
it's beautiful. I will tell you a little bit about it. Okay, so the website is hoax-alert at leadstories.com, and the article is, here are the tools and methods we use to map a Macedonian fake news network and the people behind it. And this is a very good article for showing how exactly the guy who did this figured things out step by step. So he goes through and talks about mapping the network. So he talks about the tools he used. He used Trendalizer and used a Trendalizer fingerprint search to help him identify advertising networks, that sort of thing. He was able to link different sites together based on advertising networks. He went to Twitter search. What he found in Twitter search, though, he's looking for the people who are retweeting the specific articles he thought of were his kind of target articles. And sometimes he was able to get those retweets, but sometimes he found that Twitter already identified that they were spam and banned them. So when he found that they were banned, Twitter's getting a little bit smarter on this stuff, right? But then what he did is he just went and did a Google dork on Google and said site:/twitter.com, and still went and looked for those articles and was able to find at least reference to them on Google, which was interesting.
Well, I need to read on this, because when you scroll down it, I'm just.
They did such a nice job mapping this thing out and putting it all right there in the article. All right, so then he went and he did a custom script as to find, again, those headlines. And what he was doing at this point was his script was going to find headlines that match the headlines of the articles he's looking for, but he wanted to make sure that Google and the other search engines didn't kind of get beat by keywords like watch and breaking or punctuation or uppercase, lowercase, or whatever. He wanted to normalize it all, so that's why he did his own script. And he was able to identify how many times these different articles were repeated across different news sites and then pinpoint those sites. He went to BuzzSumo to figure out, where it was being shared online and see what kind of engagement it was getting. And then he went to find the people, the registration information, whois.com, domain tools, security trails, domain big data, to figure out who owned those sites. Really, really nice investigation there. Then he, of course, went into Facebook.
Wow, this is a really comprehensive write-up. When you look into this, and a write-up on how he used various tools and even made some own custom tools.
Yeah, and he made custom GIFs to show you exactly what he did on each one. So,
well,
really nice.
Yeah, and do you know if the custom tools he made, the scripts, are they out there? Did he share them for us to use and try?
Good question. It doesn't look like it. Let's see. So it doesn't look like he doesn't have a link in that section for his custom script.
So we might need to reach out and ask him to share it.
Yeah, and so when we say him, let's go scroll down because I want to kind of highlight this author. So again, he used StockScan as well, and he actually did some searches on the images to figure out, that in some cases they were celebrities over in that part of the world, Macedonia. In some cases, it was actually the author's friends that they used. He figured out who shared the links. Let's continue scrolling down where things were popular. But there's our author, Martin Schenk. Are you familiar with him?
No, sounds like a Dutch guy, though. At least the name sounds Dutch.
Yeah, it sounds like he lives in Belgium, but
good.
Marge guy, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, a really interesting article. Really, really interesting. I need to dig into it. And do you know, by reading this article, if the people involved changed their methods after this article?
I don't know. All I know right now is what's going on in this article. So that would be interesting to see, what those sites look like right now.
Yeah, and even no, I'm interesting why initially those sites did this thing. Why? Just why? Why would you want to do
Like ads, because if you go back up here to the ad network, it looks like they were looking for eyeballs on their sites.
So it's just monetizing as much as possible from
Probably from viral content.
Wow, interesting, really interesting, and a really interesting write-up. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. So something every OSINT person should go look at, because the techniques he used, it very nice write-up on how to exactly do it. Our next link that we have, I'm not familiar with Samantha Kuttner, but she's got a Patreon here and some articles in that Patreon. Are you familiar with this article?
No, didn't see it.
Yeah, so I'm not exactly familiar with her either, and I know that the article was posted, like the whole OSINTCurious team comes in and throws articles together of things that are important that we need to look at for the webcast and podcast. Someone threw her information in. That's good enough reason for me to make sure that I do check it out, but I haven't had time to check it out yet. But she does go through her research. She's got several blog articles that appear to be even public, even on her Patreon. So something to that maybe we might be able to get more information from, and definitely interesting for everyone to check her out. Okay, so let's go over to the next one. Also, someone shared this tweet by Dr. Antonio Cedillo, which is at Antonio CHZ, who said, OSINT is just fancy Googling, and then he's got a picture that says, change my mind.
Wasn't this initially tweeted from Schmookon? I
Possibly.
think someone had similar signs and J signs up just to make a statement and to start a discussion, and which it got some discussion because, well, some people say, yeah, you're right, OSINT is just fancy Googling. Change my mind. Well, I do not agree with it's just fancy Googling. Just by looking at the article you just pointed out, it's not only Google. OSINT, Google is a part of OSINT. Well, I can't do without it, but it isn't only OSINT, Google. No way, no. Google is just a search engine, which you can leverage in depth by fancy Googling. That's it, not more.
Right, you have all these other possible tools as well, but it's not even just the tools, it's the mindset.
Exactly. I think I wrote a blog on that, on a mindset.
Yep. Yeah, in fact, I know you did too, so that's something people should look for. All right, we'll go on to the next tab. Next tab I have is an article, Geolocalization of the Middle East. So this is about a geolocation quiz that's about very specifically in the Middle East. And so they've got a couple of, this page will be updated with new solutions. So the page is, I'm not going to pronounce that correctly.
I think it's capteur s'ouvert. So it's French for capturing open stuff, things. Mm-hmm. And they're a new platform which make blogs and tweet in French and English, because there's a really large crowd in France wanting to stay up to date when it comes to open source intelligence information. And I think she does a good job. I recently did an interview with them, or put it in the right words, they interviewed me also for this platform, and it was also being posted in English and in French. But this article was fairly interesting because they will give you some ways to look into Arabic geolocation imagery, or to identify where certain places might be, where pictures may be taken, where they are. So could be interesting to look into when you're in this field of geolocation, recognition, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think so too. And I like the idea that this is kind of a French community that's kind of similar to maybe OSINTCurious. Maybe they are another way to go and get new information besides playing kind of their geolocation game.
Exactly. And she's doing a good job. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, it looks great. All right, our next tab is the monthly OSINT challenge. So there's another kind of OSINT challenge going on. Now this is German. I was looking at the bottom trying to figure out. So it's German. And using this as a helpful learning tool, people can go and kind of compete and figure out, which one, each month, trying to compete and figure out which ones they can figure out. This is aware7.de. I guess that would have given me the hint that it was German, right? Are you familiar with this one, Dutch?
No, I really need to catch up. This week I feel almost bad not knowing everything. This is not my style, missing all the good stuff.
Same. It was been a busy week for everyone in the group, I think. So let's move on to the next tab. And our next tab is, I actually found this on Twitter just today. Steve McAuliffe, the guy who created Spiderfoot, he posted out OSINT and the new perimeter, and he's kind of has a blog out there on his Medium blog talking about how, trying to identify the new type of impact for OSINT as far as, in his case, for InfoSec, but just in general. He actually references intelligence community, et cetera, and kind of talks about how things tie in now. So
I like the way he blogged on it, how the landscape changes. Not changes, how the terms and how the words to point out certain intelligence gathering changed. When you scroll just behind the graph timeline, it really nicely shows how two terms took momentum in a certain amount in time. In 2009, it was network scanning, which was really popular, and now it lost all its momentum, and OSINT is just now the powerhouse of terms when it comes to intelligence gathering.
For me, it was always OSINT because, again, I came from the intelligence community. So to see everybody kind of jumping on, I used to hear, okay, so it's sourcing, it's recon, it's, all these other things, and now things are coalescing over the word that I've been using the whole time. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it's the same. I've been in the intelligence field also for years, so this is not new for me. But I think for people in red teaming, pen testing fields, I think the term open source intelligence has become more important than, let's say, 5 or 10 years ago.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so we'll move on to Hunchley. So did you want to talk about this webinar?
Well, when Justin goes online, you immediately know there's something interesting hitting the internet. So he announced a live webinar, and which he recorded, which he did live on the 25th of January, and he gave some really good tricks or tips using the browser to download videos from Facebook directly using the inspect elements feature, or letting you find certain things on Instagram. And the link will be in the show notes. The whole webinar was recorded, so you can watch it. It has a worksheet which is basically a manual you can keep on your lap while reproducing the whole webinar. So really check it out. It's the advanced techniques for better social media capture by Justin Sides, and it's hosted on Hunchley, so hunch.li. So check it out, people. Really interesting.
All right, great. Now, let's see.
We're getting a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
Hey, someone joined. Technisette.
Hey, Technisette. Welcome.
Thank you. Sorry for joining so late.
Oh, no worries. We're glad to see you here. So we are about halfway through. We're a little bit more than halfway through our tabs in the Firefox that I'm looking at right now. But we're talking about Instantgram. So cool.
Yeah, this got me triggered because Justin in the webinar which we talked about just a minute ago, he pointed out you can make bookmarks which contain a certain piece of JavaScript, and they will do things for you which make your life easier. Well, this is something similar. I know a lot of people want to have the full-size picture when they go on investigating on Instagram. This will give you a bookmarklet. Once you press the button on Instagram when you're logged in, it will give you the full-size picture, what you're looking for. It will not give you the full-size picture of the profile picture, but of every other picture someone posted on his public timeline, you can see with this. So it could come in handy just having to push one button instead of grabbing code or doing URL analysis by inspecting the element or something. This is just some small tool which can make your life a little bit easier.
Yeah, it sounds great. I think I'm going to check it out. I'm definitely going to download it. Or I guess it's pretty easy.
If you guys want to enlarge the profile picture in Instagram, I've been recently discovering Down Album again, a Chrome add-on. If you install it and you visit the Instagram page, it will give you an extra link next to the profile picture. And if you hover over it, it will enlarge in the proper original size. Yes, that's the one.
Okay.
So from the sound of it, it sounds like it does something similar like the extension I just pointed out.
Except that it'll grab the profile picture. That profile picture one is pretty.
And that was the issue we were talking about, Technisette, right? Because we noticed the profile picture was giving us a hard time to show up in full size.
Yes. So for some reason, I haven't been able to figure out where in the source code the original size profile picture is. But Down Album, the Chrome add-on, and also iZoom, iZUUM.com, will help you enlarge the profile picture and show it to you in the original size. Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, that can definitely be useful. So those profile pictures, I mean, even if you're on a web browser, you can only get them up to a certain size looking at Instagram. So
yes.
All right. We will put those in the show notes. Let me park that right there. All right, thanks. So we've got a couple more tools to look at. Speaking of tools, Dutch, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, I think the whole community is always anticipating a new update on Buscador by Michael Bassell and David Westcott. Well, this week, the official 2.0 version was released. It's a virtual machine platform based on Genome. And well, with this new version coming out, the new build, it's just awesome. It has everything in it. An OSINT investigator or an internet investigation, online investigator might want to need. Your browser, a Chrome browser, a Firefox browser, all being hardened and being provided with the right amount of add-ons you ever might need. Video manipulation utilities, scrapers for Instagram, Twitter, Spiderfoot is already loaded up. Twint is in there, Maltego. You can imagine if everything is in there. I don't miss a single thing. So if you missed it, go to inteltechniques.com/Buscador and download version 2.0. It has a VirtualBox version, it has a VMware version, and you can also just download an ISO. I don't know if the ISO is already on there, so you can just boot it from a USB, for instance. It has a comprehensive write-up on it, and the latest podcast from Bassell goes in depth on this new release. So if you missed it, check it out. If you didn't miss it, you're probably just as happy as I was this week.
All right. Yeah, and again, that's inteltechniques.com/Buscador. All right, and the next link we have, push shift. Oh, redditsearch.io.
Yeah, I've just ran across this week and I tweeted it out, and it a lot of people retweeted it, so I guess people liked it. And what I like about it is just it making my life for searching on Reddit a bit easier, because I always have a hard time finding the right stuff on Reddit. And maybe it's just me, because I don't really get the logic or structure behind Reddit after all these years. And this helps me find the right stuff and filter it and target it in a fast way.
Yeah, I search Reddit all the time. I feel like maybe it's because I have a better grip on kind of like how Reddit's structured, but I usually use Google pretty effectively on Reddit. However, this thing, you can be a little bit more fine-tuned than Google without having to figure out, which dork is going to work for what. So we can, kind of run it all. One of the things I was looking at recently, the darknet markets noobs got killed last month on Reddit. I don't know if you guys ever used to go to that site or not, but that was where the vendors and the buyers would always share their information about the darknet markets. So that kind of got killed. So I was looking to see, well, where's the next section? And so I would put in here darknet markets noobs to see where everybody was talking about it. So just kind of a fast way to say, I want to just find, maybe not just posts, but also comments and see, let's go back a month, because that was, again, when that happened, to see, like, where are they flooding to? So.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a real pity that platform is gone. It used to be on Darknet Markets Noobs on a website, then it moved to Reddit. And it's really interesting when you're trying to learn how buying stuff on the internet in the dark web works for you.
Yep. Okay. Well, that's the end of our links, the regular links. Now we can kind of discuss the kind of ego search sort of thing that we were talking about. I think we talked about it 2 webcasts ago, where I said, well, I always subscribe to my own name and to that sort of thing in RSS. And I kind of want to talk about how that works. And if you, Technisette or Dutch, if you guys have any searches that you use, please let me know. Right? So, yeah, so okay, my name, Kirby Plessas. I'm just going to throw it in there. If I wanted to search for myself, of course, you could do just a regular, name search. But there's so many things that you can do to kind of look deeper for anything you're interested in. So, of course, you could do any of your Google Docs. Maybe I'm going to say, or plessas.net, which is my website, or, any other kind of thing. But I can also, of course, minus art, because I do have some art websites, but maybe that's not what you're looking for me having to do with. There's a lot of Google Docs that I do. I'll monitor, companies I work for. I'll monitor not just my name, but names of people that I work with, things like that. And then I'll take it to RSS. And if you're not familiar with RSS, I don't know, Technisette and Dutch, do you guys use RSS?
Yeah, I use it all the time.
I don't use it a lot.
I use it all the time. I usually use Feedly, but Feedly, actually, you have to pay to get any of the kind of search or specialized custom search RSS. So I usually start people on the old reader. Which tool do you use, Dutch, for
me, it's Feedly, the old reader, and within Firefox, I have an add-on, and I'm trying to remember what it is. It's Foxy RSS, if I think, and I might just want to come back to that in the notes.
Okay, yeah. So I'll kind of look for it, but yeah, if you can put in that into the show notes. So I think that for beginners, the old reader is the easiest one, but it does not have a mobile version, which is the only thing I don't like about it. I was teaching a class last week, though, and we had something like 40 people, and we all tried to use the old reader at once. A couple IP addresses, not very many, though, so most of us were on one IP, and it just crashed it. So I was kind of worried about whether or not it would work today. It's working fine. If you have a big class, I suggest go to NewsBlur instead. Anyway, this is a fresh one. I just logged in using one of my auxiliary email addresses, and right here you can see that it automatically gives you the old reader picks. This gives me an example of how to delete some feeds. So right here, that's all in this folder. You can just click unsubscribe, and you've just killed that folder of feeds. So now I've got a blank. And as far as Google search goes, any Google search you do, of course, you can do in Google Alerts, but I think most people don't realize that Google Alerts also has, I think I have it up right here. No, yeah, there we go. Google Alerts also has the ability to do RSS. So when you hit create alert, that would create it as an email alert. And honestly, I get enough email. I don't know about you. This Plessas1@gmail, that's my one of my auxiliary accounts. I'm not checking it, so don't email it anyone. But down to the options. So you can see that, you have a couple of choices. The second from the bottom and the bottom choice. How many times? I always switch to best results. I mean, Google's smart, but I don't trust it to know all the results. But then deliver to, instead of delivering to that email address, you can deliver it to an RSS feed. And then once you create the alert, the RSS feed is created. And you can see it here. And you've got a little button. Right-click your RSS rainbow, they were calling it in my class last night, but your little RSS radiating lines. Copy your link location and take it to the old reader. Add it as a subscription, and then you've got it. Anything you want to Google, you can Google. It'll start empty. The results will come in. The search results always start empty. But anything you search on Google, you can do this way through Google Alert. You can also use Bing as a search engine. So let me go to Bing, as a RSS. But I find the Bing's advanced search, when I'm doing this, I don't want, in my case, I'm the only Kirby Plessas. It's going to be fairly easy. But if you were Mike Smith, Bing has very little, compared to Google, advanced capabilities. So I generally, unless it's pretty straightforward, site:facebook.com, then maybe the person's name. Unless it's as straightforward as that, I probably wouldn't use Bing as my RSS. But if you decide you want to, you can just copy that URL and then paste that in the old reader. Some RSS readers can't find the Bing RSS feed. The old reader does fine, and notice that it's already actually grabbed a bunch of stuff, which, by the way, people who interact with me on Facebook, if their stuff is public and I clicked something on it, it's going to come in that RSS feed. But if you have an RSS reader like NewsBlur, for example, or Outlook, neither of those can handle the Bing RSS and find it themselves. So you go to the end of your RSS link and you turn it into an RSS feed into the code. It'll just turn into XML for you if you put and format equals RSS. That turns it into the code, XML file, and then you can throw that right into any reader. Any reader will take that bit.
One quick question. The old reader, does it have filter options within?
Not a lot.
Because I always find it annoying, just when you pointed out this, you will get a lot of noise in certain RSS searches you'll have, even if you fine tune it. Mm-hmm. And some feed readers have, and some feed readers have some options to filter out the duplications or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know that this one does have that kind of capability. Looking through here, let's see, list view. Yeah, it doesn't really have much for capability as far as...
The old reader is fairly basic. Feedly has some more features, and I've used Reader on OSX for a fair amount of time, and that had some nice filter options, but it's not that important. But I like to get as less noise as possible in these kind of things.
Yes, exactly. And in this case, you see also, this abstract Arpamilla, I don't know that person, but apparently maybe Facebook may be even suggesting that you look at my page because you're looking at her page. We would have to subtract art from this Bing search. And what I find with Bing is sometimes the advanced, like putting more than one kind of operator in there works, and sometimes not. So this looks like the minus art was okay, but sometimes the quotes won't work with cite, and if you put anything else like an in URL or something, sometimes that doesn't work. So yeah, in this case, I don't think the quotes are working, because now we're seeing an example of what should have come up right here that didn't.
Yeah, Bing and search operators is always like a kind of a mystery to me. Even when you have all the cheat sheets on your lap to double check, am I doing this right? And you're doing a double check and a cross check. It still will work in mysterious ways sometimes. But maybe it's just me being more using other search engines like DuckDuck, Bing, and Yandex. Bing, for me, lost the battle of indexing and making searching easy for me in a way. But still, I look into it when I do research.
Same, yeah, I will use it, but again, like you said, usually I'll use one operator at a time and try to get as fancy as I can with just only one operator. It doesn't seem to be keeping up with at least the mixing and matching. Other sites that give you RSS for searches, Google's news does as well. And for this, you need to just take the URL. Although I have to say that I was trying this yesterday and there was some problem, but it might have been NewsBlur that was my problem. So, or not yesterday, but this week. Let me just kind of show it as an example. Let me put in here OSINT and maybe even OSINTCurious. Let's see if we show up in any news search. And if you were doing yourself, it does not matter if it really shows up or not. You can still get an RSS feed normally from Google News. So apparently my internet here is not great. Okay, here we go. So I don't know why OSINTCurious is showing up in these ones, but it might be split up. Either way, say we're going to watch ourselves. We're going to copy, because again, this is ego search, right? We can copy the URL from the Google search. That should work by itself in the RSS reader. We shouldn't have to do anything else with it. I know NewsBlur had an issue. Oh, we see it right here. There, it's actually telling us the difference here, which I don't really see much of a difference, but when I hit subscribe, yes, I can follow any kind of news stories coming through Google News that has OSINTCurious in it.
So you use RSS for ego searches as well as keeping track of certain topics of your interest?
Absolutely. I follow everything having to do with me or my customers. I don't want to be blindsided. If you write my name on the internet and Google can get to it or Bing can get to it, I usually will know. Doesn't mean I'm going to interact, but I usually watch that sort of thing.
And do you know when it comes to alerts, I know you can set them to pop up once a day, a week, a month, or custom. These other RSS feeds, are they popping up while a new item is there? And what's the frequency of that within this feed reader, for instance?
Well, if you go back to Google Alerts and you take a look at the settings in there, the how often is locked down to as it happens when you have chosen RSS feed. So if you had just that email, then you had the choice to make it into kind of a digest, right? So I have it as a digest right now to the email, but if I switch it to RSS feed, you don't get a choice. It's as it happens. And so this is going to be just like your typical RSS. This is when Google indexes. So that's where you get the repetition. Sometimes you get stuff repeated. It'll be when Google indexes a certain thing. Google News is pretty good about not doing that, but Bing and Google, both of them are going to re-index you multiple times, and you are going to see those duplications.
Okay, well, thank you. Any other things you do for digging into certain topics while using RSS readers?
I use them for just about anything. You know, if I have a case, like say the guy who did the Macedonian news case, if I want to continually follow those, all of the usernames, all the URLs, so even say we'll go back to Google Reader again, or to Google Alerts here, I would be doing a site colon on any URL that I wanted to monitor, because even though maybe I would, you know, try and get RSS directly from them as well, but even though some of them may not have RSS, and even though Google may not index every single thing they do, at least I would get some updates when Google does re-index, and it would keep them kind of at top of my mind, that sort of thing. I would, of course, in news, yes.
And can you keep it, let's say, a nicer oversight in this old reader? Because I can only imagine if you have like 5, 6, 7, or maybe 20 RSS feeds up there, you can get lost. Now you have 3 in there, but can you tag them or maybe folderize them in a way or something?
Absolutely, we can folder. In this case, we can do 2 things to put them into folder. So the feed that I'm on, up toward the top, we've got move to folder, and I can create a new folder right here. Or at any time, I can grab one of these and pull it down and create a new folder just by pulling it down and then double-clicking the folder name and naming this ego search, right? So it's searching for our own content online. And of course, I can drag and drop and create new folders that way as well.
So this is what gives you a nicer overview of all your searches and a better way to visually see which one you have looked into, which one you need to look into, or prioritize even.
Right. And I have over 2,000 feeds in my reader. How about you, Dutch?
How many did you say?
2,000. So not all of them get read every day. I have a whole bunch of different folders, and I have a go-to folder which I'll read more often. A lot of the rest of them are just archived, and that way I can actually search. So some of the paid tools like Feedly let you search within, so it's basically already pre-curated. So say something happens in the news, somebody that I have been tracking, I can search my reader to see if any of the articles came that had them in it. And knowing that you can't delete somebody they can't delete from my reader. So for example, somebody lists something on Craigslist, it's deleted. If you were already subscribed to that on Craigslist, it would be in your reader. I know that I will find everything that I had pre-curated about any certain topic.
So you're almost creating your own archive also when it comes to people deleting certain stuff.
Absolutely.
2,000 feeds. Well, I have a lot, but I think I'm way under 500. So you must show me yours once. This sounds really weird, but still.
Kirby sounds like RSS hoarder.
I might be an RSS hoarder. Yeah, you can share your feeds as well. So one of the things that I have been debating is curating my feeds down a little bit and sharing it. So up in the case of the old reader in the upper right corner, we've got the little import button, so you can import somebody's feeds. But if you go to the settings, so I'll click on my name and then manage settings. At the very bottom, they have something that says unhappy. You can export your feeds, and you don't have to just export because you're unhappy, but you might want to share them. So I can export my feeds as a very small OPML file, email it to anybody, text it to anybody, whichever, and they can open up and pull in my feeds, and it'll stay in the same folder set as I have already. So I have debated exporting a chunk of my 2,000 feeds to anybody who's interested.
Well, I'm interested, but no, really, it's mind blowing how much you can do with RSS feeds, and it's been out there for ages. I think it was back in the 90s when the internet started growing. It was already there, and people just forgot about it in some way. And it's so useful to keep track of.
I think it's everything. It's kind of the motor behind a whole bunch of different tools that people just don't even realize.
Well, I'm having trouble with my microphone at the moment. Just 1 second.
Okay. In the meantime, Technisette, you have anything to talk about today, or anything you want to add to what we've done?
I must say I've been quite caught up in work the last week, so I haven't been able to update any of the tools I've been gathering over the last couple of years. So I don't have a lot of news, unfortunately, I'm afraid.
That's okay. I mean,
I must say that I was going over Instagram more thoroughly than I've done over the last couple of months. And I was really, really enjoying the use of helper tools for Instagram, a Chrome add-on, which lets you compare users to, if you have, for instance, have two users and you want to know who did they have in common as for the following. You can see that by, yes, that's the tool, by just using the tool. It has some bugs, I'm afraid, because sometimes it takes a while for you to fill in the names and stuff, and it looks like
I don't think that's a bug, though. I think they actually designed it that way so that Instagram doesn't shut them down.
Yeah, it's like the API rate limit.
No, when you open up the tool or the add-on in the browser, you get the option to fill into usernames. But if you're filling in those usernames, it looks like the letters you're typing, they appear very slowly on the screen. So it looks like taking forever. So yes, the comparison takes a while, and it does it with interruptions to make sure Instagram probably doesn't ban them. But yeah, I was quite impressed about them, because also, if you're visiting a company profile, normally if you would be using the app, it will show you a button saying email, so you can contact the person, whoever is owning the business Instagram. But if you visit them on the website, it doesn't show you the email button. But helper tools for Instagram can help you see the email address. When you're on a certain page, you click on the icon in your browser from the helper tools from Instagram, and it shows you the email address linked to the profile, which is quite nice.
Wow, I didn't even notice the difference there, so I'm going to have to look into that. So this page, I'm on Firefox right now for this, but this page is not showing us that screen, but when you do click it up in your toolbar, opens up and it has the the bio information for any user, and I'm guessing that's where you say that the email is located.
Yes, normally if you would be looking at the mobile app, it will show in the just underneath the bio, but it doesn't show on the website if you're looking at the same profile. So helper tools for Instagram is quite nice, and they also offer a very good option to export a follower or following list into Excel, which can help you compare again with multiple profiles and stuff. Yeah, I was really quite impressed.
Yeah, and that export functions was particularly interesting for importing into tooling like Maltego case
Yes.
file or something
And
like
too,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Looks very nice.
Speaking of Instagram, I've got a tool. I don't know, have you tried the Chrome IG Story?
Yes.
That one I like because it lets you look at Instagram stories of somebody without being visible. It has an anonymous mode.
True, and it also gives you an option to search into the stories, because I must say on the Instagram mobile version on the app, I'm not quite sure how I can search for stories so well, but here you can do that quite well. You can say, well, I'm looking for every story that has the tag or the geo tag Amsterdam in it, and it will show you all these stories, and you can download them in a zip file. And you can review them later on, and yeah, it works really nice. Yes, in this screenshot you see where you can search.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it's probably the next one. There's a search option anyway.
I'll go back.
And it works quite well.
Yeah, they do have a very nice. It's kind of hidden right now. It's looked like they've already clicked on one of the results, but would normally be right over here.
Yes. So you can search for hashtags, you can search for geolocations, and yeah.
And you're
really
always
nice.
anonymous if you have the little eyeball, which they're not showing in this, funny enough, but there's a little eyeball that normally shows up right above next to the download section or the pop-out section there, and lets you be anonymous looking at anybody's pages. You do have to be logged into either of those tools, though, so you have to be logged into an Instagram account.
Interesting. I didn't know this one, so I learned something new today.
Good.
Cool.
All right. Well, I think we're about ready to wrap up. Let's do some shout-outs. Dutch, do you have any shout-outs today, and where people can find you?
They can find me everywhere, Dutch OSINT guy, and shout-outs to the winter being almost over.
Yes.
It's cool.
All right, Technisette.
So yeah, you can find me on Twitter and on technisette.com, and I'll try my best to join again next time.
All right, great. And again, you can find me, Kirbster, on Twitter, and Plessas.net is my website, and I think we're out of here. I'll see you guys next.
Yes,
right.
next week, and thank you for the RSS explanation, Kirby.
Yeah, I'll try to get a blog up for the OSINTCurious blog about this as well.
That would be awesome.
Interesting. We'll be looking forward to that.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.